If you're a Nats fan right now, you are absolutely going through it. The Nationals just lost their 9th straight game, and Kyle Finnegan gave up not only his first home run in 2025, but also his second to blow the Nats lead in the 9th inning. What's going to give? When will the Nationals win a game again? And what do you make losing against the Rockies?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals for all your latest Nationals news and notes. Make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, the video version over on YouTube. Again, just look up Locked On Nationals, and that's where you'll find your daily podcast for the Washington Nationals. And later on in today's program, we will have a Game 2 preview, as we have got a lot to talk about with the Nationals right now. Yesterday, we talked about Davey Martinez's comments. Seems as if things are not really looking up, but they're not looking down from his comments either. I don't know where we stand right now with Davey. So let's talk about in the second segment, would a coaching change even make a difference at this point? And not even with Davey Martinez, but let's say they let go of Ricky Gutierrez, and that's third base coach. Let's say they let go of Darnell Coles. What kind of an impact would that have? And would it be a beneficial impact for this team? We'll have that discussion for you in the second segment. But let's start off with yesterday's loss because, again, the Washington Nationals are lost at sea. There's no other way to put it. Really no other way to put it at this point in time. I think back to a lot of the Nationals' bad days. Growing up watching this team back in like 2008, 2009 and 2010, those Nationals teams were utter disasters. And I think right now we are kind of following along that path currently. But the one difference is, if you look back at those teams, they kind of had direction. And I think right now it's kind of fair to question where the Nats' direction is pointed at. Are they going up? Are they still rebuilding? Are they retooling? And are they headed in the right direction? I think it's safe to say at this point, I'm not entirely sure. Because you have seen all the articles come out, whether it be Chelsea Janes in the Washington Post yesterday, discussing whether or not this ownership group will ever be back in and all in on the Nationals. Whether it be Andrew Golden having quotes from players anonymously saying that they are pissed and they were stunned by the way that David Martinez came out and kind of threw his players under the bus. This Nats team just feels lost right now. It does, from top to bottom. There are questions at the ownership level. There are questions with the president of baseball ops, with Mike Rizzo. And there are certainly questions with Davey Martinez, the manager of the staff here. You have to think to yourself at times, these low moments, it's hard not to just dwell on it. It's hard not to sit here and kind of think to ourselves, is this rebuild just blowing up in our face right before our eyes? Because again, yesterday you had Brady House, yet another elite prospect, make the jump to the majors, and we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Nationals losing 9 straight games. We're talking about the direction of this team. And more importantly, we are talking about Davey Martinez and coaching changes that should potentially come. We are focusing on the wrong things. And that's not just because of the media and the way that the media is covering this thing right now. It's because of the way that the Nationals are playing. And they'd be the first to tell you that this team, they're playing really bad right now. They are in one of their worst scuffles really over the past few seasons. Probably since like 2022. And even then, this might be worse. I can't think to the last time the Nationals lost 9 straight games. I genuinely cannot at this point in time. And it's not only that. It's the fact that you lose game one of a series that you actually had a lead in. Because again, in yesterday's game, the Nationals were leading 4-3 after a opposite field home run by James Wood in the bottom of the fifth inning. He goes opposite field there, and Dalen Lyle hit his first career home run to get the Nationals on board early in the game. And now we all know what happened. The ninth inning came, and Kyle Finnegan blew the save. Gave up his first 2 home runs all season long. He has not given up a home run since August of 2024. And of course, with the game on the line yesterday, Kyle Finnegan has one of his worst blown saves in quite some time. This is a frustrating loss. And again, I don't think I'm mad at this team at this point. Like, you can't be upset. Like, they are just in a funk, and one of the worst funks that we have seen under Davey Martinez. That's just what it is. But I can't stop thinking about this. I should be breaking down Brady House right now. I should be. But that's not the storyline of yesterday's game. The storyline continues to be the Nationals finding different ways to lose. And in yesterday's contest against one of the worst teams that we have seen in baseball history, the Nationals blew a save in the ninth inning, and they kind of got laughed at in Nationals Park. Yesterday, after the final out, in which the Nationals blew the save, fans were booing, like a loud boo. There are only roughly 11,000 people there. Even then, it's probably south of that. There were some loud boos for this team in ways that I have not heard in a long time. People have understood that this rebuild, it's going to take some time. But I think this year, people really bought into what the Nationals were doing. And right now, it's hard for the fan out there, whether you're listening at home, whether you're out of state watching this team on TV, it's hard to buy in on this team. It's hard to say, I see the vision of where this team goes. Because honestly, if you say that you can't see the vision, that makes total sense at this point in time. It does. Because it's hard to see it myself. It truly is. But let's get into some of the details of yesterday's game. More importantly, Brady House. Because Brady House, he made his debut. He went 0 for 3 with a walk. The first pitch that he saw, he skied one out into right field to fly out. And again, I thought Brady House had a pretty solid debut there. Working a walk, I thought was pretty impressive because that's not something that he really did all too much down in AAA. Plate discipline was never Brady House's thing. And he talked about it and even went in this offseason. He worked with Paul Goldschmidt. And he still thinks back every single day talking with Paul Goldschmidt and looking back at the work that he did with Goldie, one of the better hitters of the last 10 years. And Brady House, you see why the Nationals are high on this kid. Because number one, kind of similar to Dylan Cruz. We always talk about Brady House's bat. As you should. Brady House has special power. He has opposite field power. He can hit it all types of directions. He is a very talented hitter. But the thing he might be better at is his defense. Brady House, I was actually talking to a friend about this yesterday, someone who's very tied in with baseball. And I was kind of like, who do you compare Brady House to at this point? Like, who's your player comp at this point? And he said Matt Chapman. And I was like, well, that's funny enough because I said Matt Chapman as well. I think that Brady House kind of has that same style of player as a Matt Chapman type. Someone who will be a very good defender over at third base, a really strong arm, and really weirdly athletic over there at the hot corner. But also someone who establishes himself as a power hitter at the plate. I think Brady House kind of fits that player profile the same way that Matt Chapman does. And Matt Chapman is a great player right now. Matt Chapman is someone that you can rely on each and every single day. If Brady House ends up to be that, which I think is very possible, then we have ourselves a great player for years to come. And I think that's what it should be for Brady House, by the way. At just 22 years old, he has shown me a lot so far. And I'm not just saying that just to say it. He has. Seeing what he has done down in AAA with all the extra base hits, with the home runs, spraying it into right field, to left field, and dead center, going 450 feet at times. This kid is ready to make this leap. And while it did not click in yesterday's ball game, while the Nationals were relatively pretty quiet as far as hits go, check this out, only 4 hits in yesterday's game. Brady House, while he didn't wow anyone, he was very good defensively. He had a lot of opportunities in the hot quarter. But also, he worked his at-bat. Getting that walk there, I thought it was impressive. He was down 0-2 early in that count and then worked his way and then got a walk. That's not something you see from a lot of young players. A lot of young players, especially in their debut, they want to hit that home run. They want to get that first hit. But working a walk, I thought that was a very professional at-bat from a young 22-year-old who literally just turned 22 like 2 weeks ago. So with where the Nationals are, you should be excited about Brady House. This guy has got a ton of potential right now. But with where this team is at rather, you got to think to yourself, when is it going to be over? When will they kind of get over the camel's back there in that little hump on hump day? When will they win that game? Because right now, losing 9 straight games, it's literally been a week and a half at this point since the Nationals have won. It's no fun right now. It's simply no fun. So, with this losing skid and kind of where the Nationals are at this point, we're sitting at 30-42, 4th in the NL East. A week and a half ago, the Nationals were just, 3 games under 500? I mean, not even. Where were we? And we were 30-42. Yeah, we were 3 games under 500. We were 30-33. The middle of the week, a week and a half ago. And now, the Nationals are at 30-42. They are 4th in the NL East. And it's kind of hard to talk about a wild card race when you're 12 games below 500 at this point. But should there be a coaching change? And really not should there be. Will there be a coaching change? Because there's a case to be had. We talked about it yesterday. But how big of a difference would a coaching move make? And would it really fix things? Let's kind of get into that angle here after we tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at Supply House. And of course, Supply House, guys, I have told you all about it. You can get the supplies that you need from the site made for the skilled trades at Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com. Thank you guys for making Locked On Nats your first listen. Of course, check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Again, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your pods. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Next, we're going to preview Game 2 of this Colorado Rockies-Washington Nationals series, as you have got Michael Soroka on the bump tonight. In my opinion, been one of the better pitchers for the Nats over his last few starts. Numbers may not indicate that, but still, a couple home runs taken away from him, and he'd have really good numbers on this young season. So we'll have that preview for you and see if they can avoid losing their 10th straight game. But before we jump into that, obviously the hot topic outside of Brady House has been the Washington Nationals and this losing streak, but also the fans, they want what they want, and that is a coaching change. Not even just Davey Martinez, but people want Darnell Coles, you want Jim Hickey, you want the third base coach Ricky Gutierrez. How much would a coaching change really kind of change things at this point? I don't think it really would change much at all for this team at this point. I really don't. While I do think it would be very symbolic and it would be kind of good for the organization to kind of show that they are seeing what's going on, that obviously there is something there, and this team kind of needs a jolt of energy. If Mike Rizzo and the baseball operations staff were behind the scenes kind of thinking to themselves like, hey, Davey is not going to be here after this season, or Darnell Coles, he is certainly not going to be here after this season. If they are having those internal discussions, which very much so could be happening at this point, you should be having this discussion then moving on from Davey Martinez. Now, would that really help this team? I don't really think it would. Because right now, you have to think to yourself with this. If the Nationals were to make a move, who would then take in and really take over for David Martinez? Or if they moved off of Darnell Coles or Jim Hickey or Ricky Gutierrez, who do you move over to the third base coach? Who do you move over to the Nats hitting coach? Who do you move on from the Nats pitching coach? I think for the pitching coach, yeah, we could say Sean Doolittle. But as far as Davey Martinez go, what do you do? Like, is there a better option in-house? Because from my understanding of this situation, I don't think the Nationals clubhouse have completely lost faith in Davey Martinez. I don't think so. I think Davey Martinez has enough pennies in the bank at this point to kind of acknowledge the fact that this guy is a respectable manager, number one, and number two, he is a well-liked person. Davey Martinez, by all accounts, is a great person. I've interacted with him. Couldn't be a nicer guy. On the field, off the field, great guy. But also, if he has lost this clubhouse, which I cannot answer to at this point, then the Nationals should move on. Because there is nothing worse than a deadbeat manager throughout a baseball season. Nothing worse on this planet. This season is a long one. Baseball is unique. When you go out there every single day and you have a manager that you know is gone after this year, and a manager that, quite frankly, you simply do not like think back to Matt Williams in 2015, that was a disaster. The Nationals moved off from him in the middle of the season, as they should have. He was awful. And the clubhouse completely lost faith in Matt Williams. If the Nationals had that situation here, then yeah, pull the ripcord because things have to change. And it starts with Davey. But if their number one is no in-house option, and number two, the clubhouse still has faith in the manager, you probably are just going to have to see things through at this point. And at this point, I anticipate the Nationals to do just that. And number two, I anticipate them to probably move off of him from this offseason coming up. And I think that's fair. Because while I don't think this is all on Davey Martinez, I do not think this. We have talked about this in years past. We have talked about this a lot over the last few weeks and really over the last few days here. I blame the ownership, number one. I think the ownership at times, as Chelsea Janes has pointed out, and really just how you know it and how everyone else knows it, they seem like they're checked out. They're not fully in on this team, and that's really unfortunate. Number two, I also blame Mike Rizzo a little bit here. I think the player development has not been up to par for Major League Baseball standards, and really the drafting over the years, it's been really bad. And the Nationals, while they are in this rebuild, while you do have a couple of guys that could be superstars, you don't really have the depth in the farm system that you should have at this point. And honestly, I don't think we talk about that enough. And number three, I think it's Davey Martinez also. Last night when I was listening to his press conference, it just kind of came off as tiring. I was tired listening to Davey's presser. And it's easy for me to sit here and say that when he kind of gives the same message every single day. And he's like, we have to stay positive. Like we have seen this team when everything is clicking, they can rip off 12 wins out of their last 15 games. They can get really hot. And when things are going well, they can go really well. And we have seen that over this season. We saw it in the first half of last season. We've seen glimpses of this team be really good. Just a few weeks ago, we were talking about this team being in the wild card race. Obviously, right now, that's not the conversation. And quite frankly, we're like a 7-game win streak away from that happening at this point. And I don't know if the Nationals are about to rip off 7 straight. I cannot tell you. But going back to the head coach or the coaching decisions and would a coaching change make a difference? I don't think so at this point with David Martinez. Although I will say this. Ricky Gutierrez, the Nationals third base coach. I was doing this yesterday, and it's pretty jarring. The Nationals on the base pass, they have run into tied for the most outs on the bases since the beginning of 2024, and they are tied with the Philadelphia Phillies in that aspect. I'm not saying Ricky Gutierrez, it's all on him, because the Nationals, they have had the ghost of Victor Robles, they've had Jacob Young, they've had CJ Abrams, Luis Garcia, a lot of guys make a lot of bad decisions within the 90 feet that they can make those decisions. But Ricky Gutierrez would be a pretty solid option to kind of, have the symbol there and have him fall on the sword a little bit and give the fans just a little bit of what they want. I don't think it's totally linear for Ricky Gutierrez and the blame on the bases because of him and Gerardo Pardo at first base. But I can tell you this much, it ain't helping this team that much. And yeah, I don't think it's on him. Like this past weekend with Jacob Young not tagging and scoring there, I don't know if that's on Ricky Gutierrez. I don't know if that's on Jacob Young. That's something that we would have to ask them. But it's certainly easily kind of avoidable. And I think Ricky Gutierrez has not gotten his message across so far this season over at the third base coaching spot. And the Atlanta Braves, they just moved off their third base coach and they demoted him down to the minors. I'm not saying that's what the Nationals should do with Gutierrez, but you have to think to yourself, they made a move. Not saying it's made them a hell of a lot better, but it certainly is giving them an opportunity to see if they are better without him. And also just kind of satisfies the fan base, in which the Braves case, they're different because they should be a lot better than what they are right now. And the Nationals, a lot of people kind of had them in this situation here. But things are bad for the Nats right now. Fortunately enough, we have to get going tonight. It's going to be pouring rain, so who knows if they'll be able to play. Honestly, I think this team needs a day off, so a rainout would not be too bad for this Washington Nationals team. But before we jump into this game preview, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends and new friends over at OpenPhone. And if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency like a burst pipe, and if the first plumber did not answer, did you wait? Nope. You called that next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you need OpenPhone. And OpenPhone is not just one of the best systems out there. It is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. And did you juggle 2 phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? OpenPhone solved that instantly, and your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this. It makes streamlining your business much easier. And OpenPhone is offering Locked On Nats listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. And thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and check out our podcast, Locked On Nationals, wherever you get your podcast. So, the Washington Nationals, you got to win this game. You got to win this game. We talked about it yesterday with going against a lefty that had a 7.5 ERA. Well, through the first 4 innings, I believe, he only had like 2 hits given up, and he was just shoving against the Nationals. And it was bad. And yeah, the Nationals, they have struggled against left-handed pitching all season long. One of the reasons why you call Brady House up is so you can have a power right-handed bat, which we simply do not have at this point. Missing Dylan Cruz still, and hoping that would make a difference. While it did a little bit, still was not the difference that we all were expecting. But it's only been 1 game, And luckily for the Nationals tonight, you go up against Antonio Senzatella, who has, again, just brutal numbers for the Rockies. A 7.23 ERA, a 2.03 whip on the season in 66 innings, only 35 strikeouts. And let me just harp on this again. Guys, another starting pitcher with an ERA in the sevens. This is one of those things where the Nationals simply just have to take advantage of a bad team. The Nationals have to go out there and put up a ton of runs in tonight's contest. And yeah, we can all acknowledge Rockies starting pitchers, their ERAs are going to be inflated because of Coors Field. The tale as old as time. Everyone understands that in baseball. But guys, this Nats team is on a 9-game losing skid. And it's not like you have a bad pitcher going tonight for the team. You've got Michael Soroka, who, while you may look at the overall numbers and say, well, he hasn't been very good this season. No, he's been a lot better than advertised. Last start gave up 2 home runs, but the start before that looked really good. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 7 strikeouts, and only 1 walk and 0 earned runs against the Texas Rangers. And a couple of previous starts before that, he was kind of hit by the long ball. And if you take away some of these home runs, again, that's 1 pitch. Completely different numbers if you take away the long ball from Michael Soroka. Now, as we saw yesterday, this Rockies team, they know how to hit the ball, and they can hit it pretty far, as we saw with Hunter Goodman hitting 2 home runs in yesterday's game. He is a really talented catcher for the Colorado Rockies, probably their best offensive player at this point in time. And he's had 3 home runs in his last 7 games. He is batting .345 with a 7.93 over his last 7 games. So he's kind of been the hot hitter. So the Nationals certainly have to watch out for him with Michael Soroka on the bump tonight. But fortunately enough for the Nats, I'm expecting them to win this game. If you lose 10 straight games and you drop your first 2 games against the Rockies at home and losing your 10th straight game, let me just reiterate this. Changes will have to come. Whether it be drastic lineup moves, whether it be changing out with David Martinez, whether it be changing your third base coach or switching out Darnell Coles, this team has to get going, and it starts tonight. You cannot lose your first 2 games at home against the Rockies. You simply cannot do that. So let's just hope the Nationals get on the winning column tonight, and we can put everything behind us and we can start talking about baseball rather than coaching moves. So thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy tonight's game. Have a good one. Go Nats.